guys, welcome to my August TBR. Yikes, how are we almost into August already? Crazy. So I've decided to do something different for this month's TBR, and I've decided kind of just to pick a stack of books that I'm currently in the mood for. I felt like July has not been a great reading month, and I've been having some health issues in the last few days, and so I'm struggling through the final part of my July TBR, and I just want to read the things I'm in the mood for August. Now this can backfire on me because what I'm in the mood for right now may not be what I'm in the mood for in August, but hopefully it is. So for the last few months I've been pulling cards that I've made thanks to my patrons and helping make my TBR that way. We're just gonna not do that this month, and I'll probably be back to that wow, it does not go August and then July. Back to that in September. But yes, like I said, I just want to kind of have a nice reading month, read what I want. Hopefully I'll be feeling better, and then maybe I can feel more up to experimenting. So one book that I do not have on my TBR yet is I have not heard from my patron of the month what book they want me to read. So I will be adding that into my TBR. I might make a short on that once I hear about it. My patron of the month is actually Chantel Havig, and I'm curious to know if she's going to make me read one of her books. I have one of hers on my stack already for this month, so we'll see. Okay, now let's dive into my TBR. The first book is the one that I'm going to be reading for the book club. So I'm doing a book club for July, August, and September. Wow. Yeah, I'm really not feeling that great. I don't even know my months anymore. And so for August, there was a switch. I announced that recently. We're going to be reading The Faithful Spy. I'm going to be reading this with Tiffany. She's going to be co-hosting the live discussion at a date that will be announced yet. And if you guys want to join in on the Moby Dick discussion, that will be the Wednesday after this video is posted. Anyway, we're going to be reading The Faithful Spy for August. It is a true story. Dietrich Bonhoeffer and a plot to kill Hitler. We originally had a different book picked out, but I have heard some feedback that makes me think we won't be reading that one. Obviously, we changed it. So this is like kind of graphic novel, kind of infographic style biography of Dietrich Bonhoeffer. I'm very curious about this. I love the illustrations. John Hendricks is one of my favorite illustrators, and I think I've pretty much only read picture books that he's illustrated. And so I'm very excited about this. And I thought this would be a nice, easy pick after reading Moby Dick, which, as of filming this, I'm still plowing my way through. So feel free to join me reading this and then join the book discussion at the end of August. Then for the Read Your Bookshelf challenge, each month this year, the prompts are playing off of last month's book. So last month I picked The Wind in the Willows, and this month we're supposed to be reading a book in the same genre. And I actually don't know what genre The Wind in the Willows would be classified. I was thinking children's classic fiction. And so I picked a book off of my shelf that is in that same genre, and that is What Katie Did by Susan Coolidge. Now, I just did a video over on Patreon sharing some 5-star book predictions, and this is one of them. I read the first line of this in a different Patreon video, and it intrigued me. It's very nature-esque, and we're going to read actually the first sentences of all of these books after for something I'm going to be doing, so stay tuned. So that is my Read Your Bookshelf challenge book. Now the rest of these books are just ones that I'm currently in the mood for, and I tried to pick a variety of genres because I generally don't like to read the same genre, 2 books in a row. So I have Twice Sold Tales by Chantel Havig, and this is one that I've been talking about forever. Loved the first 2 novellas that lead up to this book. I'm very excited to get to it. The first 2, we follow a guy named Milton. He helps businesses get out of debt, and he's been helping bookstores, and so I'm assuming he's going to be showing up in this bookstore at some point. So really looking forward to this. I love her humor, and I think this one's going to be a winner. Then looking around my shelves, like most of these books I really do want to read, but that doesn't mean I'm in the mood for each of them all the time. But I think it is time for me to read another old lady book, and so I wanted to read The Amazing Mrs. Polifax. Like, definitely not a fan of this edition's covers, but I'll try not to let that affect my thoughts on the book. So Mrs. Polifax is in her 60s, I think, in book 1, and her doctor kind of diagnoses her with being mildly depressed, and he says, "Isn't there something that you've always wanted to do?" And I feel like such a kinship with her. She's like, "Yes, I've always wanted to work for the CIA." And like, I've always wanted to be a spy. I just think that would be so cool. So she goes to the CIA and like sits down and tries to get in, and she does. And book 1 ensues. I would say these are like, or at least based off of book 1, I would put it down as like a cozy espionage series. We're going to be following Mrs. Polifax in number 2. I don't even want to read the back. We'll read the first sentence yet. I don't really want to know anything going in. It was just sweet. I just loved the story. I loved her. So looking forward to continuing the series. Then I didn't have any science fiction or fantasy at this point, so I thought I would get one of my arcs. This one is coming out September 12th. It is The Eternity Gate by Catherine Briggs, and this is an Enclave publishing book, and I got this book sent to me by the author, and it's going to be a duology. So this one is the little, I can't actually think of what the word is, little blurb here at the top says, "Destroy the key, save her people and herself." And I'm very curious. I've had really good success with Enclave publishing books, and so I think this is going to be a good one as well. As I'm going through my shelves, I've just been like really craving a lot of classics, but I didn't want to put too many on this list because I get overwhelmed if there's too many. But one of my goals for this year for myself is to read an Elizabeth Goudge. It's one of my birthday goals I set for myself because I like to set goals on my birthday every year. This one is book 1 in a series, and I know book 2, I think it's called Pilgrim's Inn, is a lot of people's favorite book. I don't own that one, but so I would read book 1 so I can get to that one. This is about the Elliots of Damarose, probably not how you say it. This centers around the desire of 2 of the very tightly knit family to marry each other. I really don't know much about Elizabeth Goudge, but I feel like I might like her writing or I might absolutely hate it. So I'm gonna give it a try and we will see where I land. And then I thought I would go science fiction since I ended up picking a fantasy there before. I think this is science fiction. I don't know anything about it. It is a Frank Peretti. Most of his books are science fiction, supernatural. This is, yeah, The Visitation. When was this one published? Because I read a lot of Frank Peretti in high school. 1999, but I don't think I ever read this one. And I don't know anything about it. The sleepy eastern Washington wheat town of Antioch has suddenly become a gateway for the supernatural, from sightings of angels and messianic images to a weeping crucifix. Then a self-proclaimed prophet mysteriously appears with an astounding message. He also has like, I know I have the book called The Prophet, and I definitely read his other series, This Present Darkness and Piercing the Darkness. I feel like this kind of sounds like it's in those veins, but I don't really know. We'll see. So that is my like very short TBR for August. Honestly, I just wanted books that I'm very excited about, that I think I'm going to enjoy, and then I have like room to mood read. I have like room to unwrap some books off of my TBR cart. But one of the things that I wanted to do, one of my patrons mentioned this idea and I thought it was brilliant. When I did a video reading and ranking a bunch of first sentences of books from my TBR shelf, hence where this What Katie Did came in. But she gave the idea that I read the first sentences of the books on my TBR, rank them based on their first sentence, and then see at the end of the month if their first sentences ends up being like where the overall book is in my ranking, if that makes sense. So we're going to read these first sentences. I'll rank them in order from the best to the worst, and then I will see at the end of August how right or not right I was on this. So we'll start in the order that we went through them originally. So The Faithful Spy, actually I don't know where the first page is. This book is just so cool. Whoa. These illustrations. I'm gonna really like reading this. This is probably the first sentence. This book follows the life of the man Dietrich Bonhoeffer. Very informative sentence, but not like overly gripping. If I had a stack, it would probably be like middle of the road, but that's the first one. Now, I already did read this first sentence, but I'll reread it here. I did like it. I was sitting in the meadows one day not long ago at a place where there was a small brook. And I loved that nature visual, so that's definitely going to go above The Faithful Spy for me. Twice Sold Tales. I think I'm going to really like this book too because the main character, her name is Harper. She runs this bookstore and I don't think she really likes people. We might find that out from this first sentence because I've read it before. And I just feel like maybe we have a bit of a connection here. Oh yeah, the official first sentence is books because reality is overrated. I'm just going to read the rest of the paragraph because I was kind of just talking about this. Today's t-shirt said it all. Although Harper Brevig really would have preferred one that said fictional characters because people are overrated. She just hadn't found one yet. This is where Harper and I might get along. But anyway, books because reality is overrated. I do really like that. It's a very different first sentence than what Katie did. I really like both of them, but in different ways. But I think I'm going to put Twice Sold Tales on the top there. Then The Amazing Mrs. Polifax. I have no idea what this first sentence is. Mrs. Polifax had attended church that Sunday morning, and her hat, a garden of pale pink roses and green leaves, still sat on her head as she ate a lunch in the sunny kitchen of her apartment. Okay, one of the things I know about myself when it comes to first sentences is I generally don't like long ones. I think this sentence works with Mrs. Polifax, but it doesn't grip me right off the bat. So I'm going to put this one on the bottom. Now we've got The Eternity Gate. Through the paper window, lingering stars winked against a cold sky. The morning my 18th winter passed, and I, Seo, came of age. Right, I definitely read that first sentence before. It's definitely not my favorite as far as first sentences go. I'm going to put this over top, like above Mrs. Polifax. So far, we're looking like this. Let's see, 2 more left. The Bird in the Tree. Visitors to Damarose, I don't really know how to say that, had they but known it, could have just told how much the children liked them by the particular spot at which they were met upon arrival. Oh, that's intriguing. That's intriguing. I wish I knew how to pronounce that word. I'll hopefully look it up before I talk about this book. I'm going to put this underneath what Katie did and above The Faithful Spy. The last one is The Visitation. Okay, now do I do the prologue? Let's do the prologue. None of these other ones had prologues. The hammer rang against the nail, piercing skin, cutting vessels. Okay. I'm going to put that above The Faithful Spy. So, this is how I feel like the first sentences are. We've got Twice Sold Tales, What Katie Did, The Bird in the Tree, The Visitation, The Faithful Spy, The Eternity Gate, and The Amazing Mrs. Polifax. And then I will report at the end of August when I do my wrap-up how similar the actual book was to the first sentence as far as ranking goes. It's an interesting idea. I'm curious to see how this goes. So this is what I plan on reading for the month of August, plus my Patreon pick. I would love to hear what you guys are reading in August and if you're excited for me to read any of these books in particular. Thanks for being here, guys.